Greetings, ladies and gents, and welcome to this latest edition of Tales from Outer Space, where I take stories from across the internet and read them for your entertainment. This particular story is called Humans Are Space Cats, written by Mono KS. The news of extraterrestrial contact was huge back on Earth. Waves of excitement, anxiety, and curiosity all delved into mild bickering as the United Nations continued to study and monitor these new alien life forms. After their discovery of faster-than-light travel, humanity then finally was found by the Galactic Union, a far-stretching organization that functioned much like the United Nations. Wanting to make a good impression, the UN then hereby passed legislation that designated all of Earth as one country on paper. Of course, things continued to function as is. But the next question after the invitation was, who was to represent them? After some discussion and voting, Secretary of State for Defense Joshua Higgins was hereby voted to be Earth's first ambassador. Hailing from the United Kingdom, his scars and tough demeanor from the 7th Afghan War were evident. Humanity wanted to make a strong yet peaceful impression, and what better way than a man from a military background who was evidently anti-war. Higgins observed himself in the mirror of his HMS Elizabeth II. As it traveled through the cosmos, the ambassador took a deep breath. He sported a graying beard, a neat brushed haircut, and a professional suit with little secret flasks settled in his pocket. The flag pin of the United Nations glimmered in the light as he held an alien-looking tablet. Provided to humanity was a sort of learning book for all new species they were to encounter. The Glavians, the Zolthars, the Harlax, each new species different, yet equally intelligent. And while he was equipped with his auto-translator, Higgins wanted to make a good first impression to the Galactic Union. Finally, the spaceship stopped in its designated docking yard, as air pressure returned to accommodate the newcomer. Higgins finally stepped off the ship. It wasn't so much a welcome delegation, but his tablet showed coordinates to the main Galactic Union's chambers. It seems that they were waiting for him. With a huff, Higgins walked off, but as he did, he couldn't help but spot two aliens acting giddy as he passed. Higgins took a deep breath. He kept himself composed despite the first time he finally saw an alien life form. As he continued into the halls of the large complex, Higgins was guided onto a platform by the computer, and soon it started to raise. Higgins stood stern and still as the platform raised, and finally, as he reached the top, Higgins was met with aliens of all sorts, each sitting in their seats while they stood behind what seemed to be a podium. He took a deep breath as he stared back at the aliens, and was met with waves of ahs. "Ah, look at it, it's so cute and small. It looks so fluffy." Higgins blinked, dumbfounded. Was his translator not working properly? He shook his head before he approached the podium. He tapped the mic-like device as it resonated. "Ah, he's playing. Go on, little guy." Okay, maybe it is broken. Higgins pulled out his speech as he cleared his throat. "Dear delegates of the Galactic Union, I stand before you Aw, cute." Higgins cleared his throat. "I stand before you as a representative of my dear planet Earth, a small planet, a humble civilization. But we do not stand alone against each other, for humanity in its darkest era stood together against a common threat." Suddenly, the man shuddered and squirmed as he felt some sort of wet tentacle start to pet the top of his head. He looked to the side to see some sort of octopus-like alien reaching the long tentacle to caress his hair. Higgins simply stepped aside a bit. Together against a common threat, I introduced myself as Joshua Higgins of the United Nations of Earth. And much like our people, we desire to..." Again, the alien was petting him, so he tried to step aside. "We desire to work harmoniously, with equal respect as we intended. With that, the United Nations of Earth extends our first heartfelt greetings." "Hey, quit it!" Higgins at this point smacked the hand against the tentacle as it quickly retracted. He went wide-eyed as he looked at the delegation. Oh God, he'd fecked up. "Ah, look at the grumpy little boy. Joshua, what a strange but cute name. I want to pet it too." "Ah, hell." After that embarrassment of a speech, Higgins wanted nothing more than to hide away from the rest of the delegation. As everyone else was busy in the equivalent of a bar, Higgins decided he seriously needed a nap to get some energy again before he could meet the delegates after the debacle. But the aliens had other plans. Dr. Fleet, walking down the hallway with a container in his claws, with a snicker, he eyed the tablet. The human should be somewhere around here, and ho and behold, there the human was, resting in one of the empty lounges. Beside him was Dr. Zlothler, who spoke in a hush whisper. "Ah, come on, Dr. Fleet. Let the poor human sleep." "Oh, lighten up, Zlothler. This will be funny, I promise," Fleet said with a toothy chirp. "What do you have in there?" Zlothler asked. "I have an earthling creature here called a fly. Humans seem to really like swatting and chasing after them. Admit it. That sounds cute, doesn't it?" Fleet said as he gazed towards the adorable human. "We're doing this for research," Zlothler said, only to grip the doorway as she peeked over towards Higgins. "So fluffy. I want to pet it." "Shh, shh," Fleet said, after he inputted a code. The container opened as the strange, buzzing black creature flew out and erratically. The two doctors watched as the fly roamed around the room before it reached Higgins. As it landed on the human's cheek, Higgins' face crunched up as he moved his head to get the tickling feeling off. And when it landed again, he grumbled as his hand tried to get the fly off. Flit snickered as he started to record this with his tablet, and Zlothler tried to hold back her laughter. Finally, as the fly annoyed him enough, Higgins woke up with an angered voice as he quickly stood up. "You bloody!" Higgins grabbed the file that he brought as he rolled it up and started to chase after the fly. "Get back here, you little bastard!" "Don't look at him. Come on, little guy. You can get it." Flit cheered through the mental signal to Zlothler as they kept quiet, yet amused. Higgins's temper started to flare as he chased the fly around the room. If he wants something dead, he'll have to make it dead. Finally, with a hard smack against the window showing the view of the stars, Higgins managed to swat the fly. "Finally, I got you, you little bastard! How did your fly get in here anyway?" he said in an annoyance. And just as Higgins turned his head to the doorway, Flit and Zlothler quickly ran off in fits of clicks and giggles. Higgins expected belittlement, but not this way. Ever since he got to the Galactic Union's headquarters, he was being treated as some sort of amusement. Pets, baby talks, even being played with in his sleep. Higgins ignored the compliments and attempts to pet him as he reached the bar. And of course the bartender approached him with the same attitude. "Ah, hey there, little guy. What can I get to the little cutie?" Ugh. Higgins scowled back in annoyance, which somehow only made the bartender get even more giddy with his apparent cuteness. "Give me the toughest thing you've got." "Sure thing, here." The bartender then grabbed a capsule of some sort of glowing blue liquid and handed it to Higgins. "Say for a little guy like you to enjoy. Drink up, cutie." Higgins sighed as he grabbed the capsule and opened it up. As he tasted it, it just tasted like juice, no hints of alcohol in it at all. Higgins drank it up, and yet he was feeling nothing at all. With a sigh, he reached into his coat and instead pulled out his flask as he started to quickly down his whiskey. Suddenly, alarms rang out through the bar. Panic seemed to spread through the delegates, and they were rapidly approaching Higgins. One delegate, a giant bug-like creature, quickly grabbed his flask. "What the little human? This is ethanol. This is not for drinking. Spit it out." "What on earth? Give it back," Higgins said. "Us humans can drink this." "Someone, we need to get him to a medic, stat," the bug said, ignoring Higgins's yelp. An explanation as he carried the human in his 6 arms. "Hurry! Put me down this instant!" Higgins demanded as the bug was quickly accompanied by everyone else in the room, all to bring the human to the medic for drinking alcohol. Higgins has never been more glad to be back in London. After days of unsolicited petting, compliments, and baby talks, the United Nations was dumbfounded at his reports of what happened. Somehow, humanity was designated the cutest species in the galaxy, which felt insulting and somehow flattering. For Higgins, however, it was fully insulting. And as he entered his flat in Westminster, he sighed a deep breath of relief as he wandered into his living room. Higgins immediately took a drink of his replacement flask, missing alcohol more than he realized as he stared at the mirror. "I can't believe they saw this as adorable," the gruff man said, only to damp himself into an armchair. Higgins sighed deeply, only to hear a soft meow. A grey, male British Shorthair approached him as he gently blinked. With that, Higgins smiled. "Hey there, Brutus. Miss me?" Brutus meowed, only to walk off with his usual smug attitude. Higgins chuckled as he watched Brutus distract himself with his toy. And as he did, he choked on his whiskey as he reached a realization. Humans are space cats. End of story. I would like to thank our T5 members and patrons, Caspar Arnholtz, John Creighton, Vidmori, 050, Dragzoon WRE, and Elijah Silvercross. Thank you very much.